Namaste and welcome back. So I know I'm repetitive here, but our mind stores information mostly through repetition. And I really want you to understand what spirituality and yoga science are all about and how this powerful knowledge and tools can help you to enhance the quality of your life and relationships. So the goal of all spiritual practices is to create a high energetic frequency in your instruments, body and mind. A pleasant inner atmosphere, and really to improve your body's and mind's performance. So with your practice you're improving your perception, and you will be able to shift your perception of life and yourself, and that in return will improve the quality of your whole human experience. And even if this all doesn't make so much sense right now, keep practicing and you will know, you will feel it. So you will be able to perceive life beyond the limited ideas of your mind, and that will result in inner peace instead of inner resistance to everything that does not happen according to your mind's ideas and beliefs, right? So when you keep practicing, like what you've been doing, to simply be present without reacting or running after every thought and sensation, you will eventually be able to maintain your focus, your concentration, your awareness pointed on one single object, like your breath or your third eye. And you'll be able to do that for a longer period of time. And eventually your mind will become quiet. And maybe you are able to experience meditation and transcend this dimension and enter into the timeless, unchanging dimension of your true self. And that's the goal of spirituality, to remember then who you are and experience the oneness. And that's when your life as a human being changes completely. And also your struggles with relationships come to an end. Why? Because you experience that you are not the mind, you're not the fixed beliefs, you're not the stories, you're not your experiences, you're not your desires, not your needs, not your emotions. You understand that those are just products of your mind. And they are part of your human experience, but they are not you. They are yours. And that is the difference that will make a big difference in your life eventually. So now look at your relationships with all this knowledge you have already. And why are you struggling in a relationship? Because the other person does not act according to your mind's beliefs. Because the other person does not give you what your mind wants, or does not do what your mind thinks they should. Every discussion starts because two minds with two different ideas clash, and each mind wants to be right and get what it wants. So once you treat your mind as your instrument, instead of behaving like a servant of your mind, you decide if you want to enter into a discussion. You do not simply react compulsively to the other people. You decide. You can consciously decide to be in peace instead of trying to be right. Because the part that always wants to be right, it's your created identity, it's the ego, and that is part of your mind, but it is not you. You are peace. And that is what you want to experience within yourself. Just balance and peace. And then life becomes joyful and the human experience becomes beautiful. But I want to talk now a little bit about change and expectations and how they have an impact on our life and relationships. So again, our instruments, body and mind, are part of the ever-changing nature of creation. And as a result, our minds and our body's needs and expectations, they keep changing, right? So naturally, nothing is ever satisfying our human needs eternally, indefinitely, because they change constantly. And as we mentioned before, nothing is certain in life. But now, why does everything in nature change all the time? Just look at your mind's thought process. Isn't that changing all the time? Look at your body's sensations and the feelings. Aren't they changing all the time? There is not 1 second exactly the same as the previous second. And here is a good reply I like. It's from a German scientist. And he says, his name is Harald Lesch, but it doesn't matter. So he says, nothing in nature is perfect. And everything depends on certain conditions. Nature always strives for perfection, but since the circumstances change continuously, nature never reaches perfection. And this is why everything in nature constantly changes. So your own body, your own thoughts, your own emotions, your own ideas and desires, and hence your relationships, they are constantly changing. And the only thing that is sure in life is change, right? How funny is that? The one thing that upsets our mind most is change. See, if we like something, we are scared it will change and we can't even enjoy the present moment. We experience anxiety because our mind is always fantasizing about things that might possibly change and is scared it won't like the change, right? And on the other hand, our mind tries to change what it has no business changing, like other people or the past. So what I want to tell you is that any relationship is conditioned like everything else in nature, as long as it is based only on our human instruments, body and mind. Every relationship will have its ups and downs because that's simply how nature is designed. We can't change that. See, so we form all kinds of relationships with the expectation to satisfy our instruments, needs and desires. But since the nature of life is change, our expectations will also change eventually. Or the other person is not able to satisfy our expectations anymore, right? See, looking for unconditional love outside of us simply does not make any sense because nothing in nature is unconditional and eternal. So maybe we can make an example that makes it clearer. We might enter a relationship to satisfy our body's physical needs or to satisfy emotional needs. Maybe we look for a relationship to satisfy economic or social needs. But we always have something in mind, a reason, a motivation. The desire to satisfy a personal need motivates us to enter into any kind of relationship. And with this, automatically, we have certain expectations, right? We enter into the relationship because we think that this other person will meet our expectations and give us what we want, what our mind wants. We enter into a relationship because our mind expects some kind of pleasure. And that's how our human mind works. It constantly seeks a form of pleasure or tries to avoid anything unpleasant, right? So this is why our mind is constantly busy, right? And one of the most important spiritual teachings is that expectations lead to suffering and that one should live, think, speak and act without expectations to enjoy the human experience. Instead, one should simply make every thought, word and action an offering to life itself, or to God, if you like that idea, without being mentally attached to a certain result or outcome. One should simply do their best and let the universe, life or God, take care of the rest. And trust that life knows what it is doing. Trust that life does not make mistakes and simply accept life joyfully instead of doubting life all the time. Because that's what we're doing so often, right? That is what's happening, right? On one side, maybe we say, we are religious or we believe, we are believers. So on one side, we worship a God. We worship the creator of life, no matter how you want to call that force, right? But at the same time, we always doubt his work. We always doubt that life is perfect as it is. We even doubt ourselves, right? We don't even think that we are made perfectly. When something goes against our mind's ideas about how life should be, we think that life, the creator, is making a mistake, but life does not make mistakes. Life just happens. And as long as our mind keeps asking, why does this happen to me? Or why doesn't this happen? Or why does this person treat me like that? Instead of inner peace, we experience inner resistance to what is, asking the question why all the time. And that inner resistance throws us off balance energetically, which again results in mental and physical imbalances, in unease, inner unpleasantness, right? See, we don't simply accept challenges in life as valuable life lessons, and we want to know why life is happening the way it does, why other people treat us the way they do. We worship something greater than us, but then think that we know better. Instead, we should see life as the teacher and trust that the teacher knows what lessons we have to learn, what lessons we have to go through in life. Or did you go to school convinced that you know better what you have to learn than your teachers? I know, this is so much easier said than done. But shifting your perception of life and yourself is a practice, and it will eventually improve the quality of your life. It is the practice of detaching from body and mind, from your created identity, from our mind's accumulation of knowledge, experiences, and its beliefs on which it builds its emotions, right? And this is the goal of spirituality, to gain this freedom. So you use your mind because it allows you to function as a human being in society. But you know you're not that. You use your mind when you need it instead of spending all day in your head. You see, don't get me wrong. You can still discuss. You're still getting angry, be anxious. You can do whatever you want. But you have to decide this, not your mind. You decide. You want to suffer? Please feel free. But you do not leave this decision up to your instrument. You do not give your power away to your instruments. And let's go back to expectations, because that is really, really important. If you want to live well, and especially in your relationship. So let me just give you a quick example of how expectations grew with your mind, with your life. So let's say you have a date, and you get your hair done, you put on a nice dress, makeup, perfume, the whole program. Well, if you're a man, you do the other program. And you hope that your new date will fall in love with your looks, right? That's your expectation. But then the date doesn't go so well, and you don't even catch one compliment for all your efforts you made for your beautiful hair and your beautiful dress and your beautiful makeup. And the consequence is that your mind is disappointed. And if your self-confidence isn't at its best, your mind will attack you and tell you that you're not pretty enough, you're not good enough, you're not funny enough. Or your mind will get really angry and frustrated because it is convinced that your date should have treated you in a totally different way. In any case, you did all your effort with a certain expectation. And just because this expectation was not met, now you feel unpleasantness inside, like disappointment, right? So do you notice how this behavior makes you feel small and powerless? It keeps your inner well-being dependent on others. And this is not freedom at all. And all you want is freedom. This is instead total dependence on your instruments, on your mind especially, and external circumstances and conditions and other people's opinions. You have to remember that it is your freedom to decide how you feel. Do not give this power away. What is happening within you is your business alone. You decide to be okay, no matter what. And you have to make this promise. So if you go on that date, let's say, without expectations, if you get all pretty or handsome, just for the love of doing so, if you remember who you are and that your true nature is unshakable balance and joy, then no matter how the date goes, you are okay. You might observe how your mind gets offended and upset maybe even, but you keep your distance. You just observe these mental states without being involved, without emotional suffering. You just observe without the urge to react compulsively to every thought. Like you do while you practice, when you sit and you do nothing. You bring your practice into your life and you trust life. This date went like this. Okay, that's how it was supposed to go. Why? Nobody will ever know, and it does not matter because I can't change others. So no need to waste time thinking about it. Plus, if I keep asking life, why didn't he say this? Why didn't I get a compliment? Why didn't you make this date work out? You know, this creates a feeling of inner resistance, of disagreement with life itself, and that in return creates unpleasant feelings inside of you. So what happens in a relationship when your mind's expectations and needs change? That's another problem once you're in a relationship. Let me give you this example. Let's say your mind was longing at a certain point in your life for a relationship because you felt a bit bored alone, right? And then you met this interesting guy who loves traveling, adventure, extreme sports, knows all the coolest bars, enjoys nightlife. And your mind started to long for this man because it had the expectation that this person would satisfy your mind's emotional need for variety, for adventure, for excitement. And the guy did. And your relationship went well for a while because this person gave you exactly what your mind expected, what your mind wanted. But in life has changed. At a certain point, circumstances changed, and your mind started longing for more stability, certainty, and a stable routine instead, a quieter life. Now your expectations and emotional needs have changed, while your partner is still the same adventurous guy you fell in love with. And here we go. Trouble in your relationship starts. Because you will try to manage your partner now. You will try to change your partner in a way that he can again satisfy your expectations. And we all know that we cannot change others and we cannot manage others. And this is how trouble starts. See, your mind is happy with a relationship as long as the other person does what it wants. If your partner or your friend or your colleague, whatever relationship you're talking about, if your partner doesn't satisfy your mind's expectations or does not behave according to your mind's ideas anymore, the struggles start. So when we enter a relationship with the expectation to satisfy our human needs, when we enter a relationship because we think that the other person will save us from our pain, when we expect that the other person will make us feel complete and fill the void we feel inside, when we expect that the other person makes us happy, expectations always mean that trouble in the relationship is waiting around the corner. So now, if you have some time, I want you to contemplate about your relationships now. Look at different kind of relationships. The relationship you have with your partner, with your kids maybe, with your parents, or with your siblings, or with your friends, or with your colleagues. And then expand this thought to your the relationship with your community, with your country, your relationship with the world. And ask yourself, what does my mind expect from them? And then ask yourself, how do my mind feel? How do I feel when they don't meet my expectations? How do you feel when they do not behave how you want them to? What is happening within you? Pleasantness or unpleasantness? Think about your own mind's expectations and moments of your life where they caused you inner suffering or unpleasant feelings. Just contemplate on your life and the negative results of expectations. That's all. Feel free and have fun digging around in your mind and exploring its attitude. And as more as you know about your instrument, your mind, as easier it will get to make it work for you instead of allowing it to work against you. Well, I wanted to show now a yoga breathing technique that you can add to your daily practice. It's called Kapalabhati breathing, which means something like, it's hard to translate from Sanskrit into another language, but it means something like shining skull. Because with this breathing technique, you're moving your energy upwards, away from worldly concerns and towards a higher consciousness. With this breathing, you move your energy away from your mind's limiting beliefs about life and yourself and towards a higher perception of yourself and life. This breathing is, it's energizing, but at the same time, it cleanses your pathways from thoughts. Thoughts are energy, right? From thoughts you might be holding on to, or experiences or stories you're holding on to. And it's always best to do it before you do your daily practice. So you sit down, you do your breathing, and then just stay there. Close your eyes, bring your focus on the third eye, and you simply are. So let's just try this breathing together. So you sit straight with your feet flat on the ground, your back straight. You can just keep your hands preparing for your practice with your palms facing up on your thighs. And now you just want to forcefully exhale through your nose, right? You do not want to inhale. The inhale just happens. Allow the inhalation just to happen. You don't have to think about it. You just think about the exhale through your nose. And while you exhale forcefully with your nose, you use your abdominal muscles. You push them in. Your diaphragm moves up and you push the air out. So let me just show you. Inhale. That's it. Okay? So, you don't move your shoulders and you don't do this. No, only exhale, exhale, exhale. And your help is your abdominal muscles to push the breath out. You sit and inhale, and then you do that as long as you can. Maybe at the first time you can do 10 exhalations. Then maybe you end up doing 20, maybe even more. And you can do 1 round or 3 rounds. And then you do your, let's call it meditation practice, but you know by now that it's a preparation for meditation to happen. So one last time. Okay. You can do this breathing only if you suffer from high blood pressure. Then you don't want to do this breathing. Okay, and you can get back to me and I can show you a different breathing technique that you can do. Or instead of doing this breathing, you can simply just do some long inhales and even some longer exhales, right? This is just in case you suffer from very high blood pressure, or if you are pregnant, then you want to avoid Kapalabhati breathing. I leave you this for now. Try it out. Be patient. Okay, have faith. Do your practice without expectations, because by now you know what expectations do to you. They create eventually unpleasant emotions, and you do not want that anymore, right? Always focus on the good. When negative beliefs come up in your mind, repeat the opposite, the encouraging belief, right? Repeat the things, the phrases that whatever you want in your life, what you want to attract, right? Remember the previous lessons. So integrate all these little tiny things into your life without making it too complicated. Just try it out. Be curious like a little child, right? And let me know how that works. And please get back to me if anything is not clear, or if you have an experience you want to share, right? So try it out. Namaste.